What's up, everybody? Michael Johnson here with Backstage Choreography Live. I'm excited to be here today because we're going to talk about some cool systems. In case you didn't know it, I go on live pretty frequently to talk about business systems and personal systems. I love systems. Systems are really the key. And something I like to say all the time is the quality of your systems is the quality of your life. This came back from my NLP days. Back in the day, used to spend a fair amount of time getting all my certifications and really falling in love with the brain and how it worked and how you utilize it. And I've used it in a lot of different ways, but one of the things that I learned was that systems rule the roost. Systems are how you create your bad habits. Systems are how other people create habits for you. Systems are how businesses run. Systems are the name of the game. And it doesn't matter whether it's something you like or whether it's something you don't like. And it's a system, and that's it. And that's the crazy part about it. So if you're doing something in your life that you don't like, if you have a habit you don't like, it's because you're really good at running a system. And in learning how to understand systems and how systems work, you'll be able to either deconstruct that system, which we haven't really talked a lot about on these lives, or you'll be able to reconstruct the system. In many instances, some of the simplest versions of working on personal development or business development is to interrupt the pattern of a system, to get in the way of something that makes that system work. And sometimes that means that you're going in, you're scratching up in NLP, we used to talk about a record playing. Now, if you're too young, you don't know about records, but I used to have a record player. And I loved my records. I remember listening to Michael Jackson on a record, and there's just that good gritty sound, right? It would play, and sometimes you'd hear a little bit too much crackling, and so you'd go and you'd blow off the needle so that it wouldn't have too much lint or dust on it, and then you'd put it back on. And there's something really great about listening to a record, right? And listening to the music come out of your cool speakers that you've somehow pieced together. And inevitably, if you played it too much or if you handled it too much, they would get a scratch on that record. And as that record played, if that needle went over that scratch, it would bump it. It would mess up the music, so to speak. So I want you to think about the systems that you're creating in your world, in your life, in your business, with other people, for you, by other people. Think about those and how easy it is to mess up a system and or to build a system. Sometimes systems get made and they're made on things that are happening in your world. You don't even know it. They're just happening. Something happens over and over again. Maybe a coworker or a spouse looks at you a specific way. They give you that one little like the eyebrow raises or something happens, and all of a sudden, man, that fires off a whole set of things for you, a whole set of emotions, feelings, thoughts. Sometimes words come out that you don't mean, or things that happen that you don't mean. And you think to yourself afterwards, like, what in the world just happened? And it was because something in a well-formed system made that system happen. Now, the first something in that well-formed system that happened was a trigger. And so if you haven't already, go get the Alpha Systems Framework. You can get it at systemsforexperts.com/ASF, and it's free. So just go download it. There's a whole masterclass on it talking about a well-formed system. But the Alpha Systems Framework talks about a well-formed system, which is a trigger, a process, an outcome, and proof. Now, let me I think I have that actually. I think I can pull it up on the screen here. Let me just move my head over to the side here. There it is, the Alpha Systems Framework. You can go download this and have it. You can keep it on your desktop, whatever you want. So that you can have it when you're building systems or trying to figure out how to get in the way of systems. There's a trigger, there's a process, there's outcome, there's proof. In the middle lives your EEI, which I think is your secret sauce. It's your experience, expertise, and insight. So that's a lot that I just gave at you. But if you haven't seen any of our lives, any of the Backstage Choreo live, then go back and watch some of them, because we talk about this stuff all the time, right? But that well-formed system is something that can be a system that you're running on accident, or it could be a system that you're running on purpose. The ones that are dangerous are the ones you're running on accident, where the trigger is something outside of you, and you haven't learned to create something that doesn't allow that to be a trigger. And that thing happens. I was mentioning the eyebrow earlier. So maybe the eyebrow goes up from a colleague, a work, somebody you work with, a spouse, somebody, and all of a sudden you like flip your lid, right? You just freak out, and they're like, "Whoa, what happened? Back off! What in the world?" And you just go off. And oftentimes you hear that story. The story is called "The Straw That Broke the Camel's Back." What is that straw? That straw was the trigger, but that system had been being built over and over and over again. And that's rough, right? Sometimes it's something somebody says. Sometimes it's some actions that some people take. Sometimes it's the direction of a conversation, and it becomes and starts acting like that trigger. And then a whole set of processes, feelings, emotions, all of that takes place, and you don't even realize it. You don't even recognize it until maybe after the fact, and you're like, and you kind of come out of the fog and you're like, what in the world came over me? What just happened? I didn't know I did that. But it felt so normal and so easy and so accessible to run that system. I mean, that's not what you're thinking at the time, right? It just, something happens. You blow up at somebody, you blow up at a best friend, whatever it is. And all of a sudden, all these things happen, all the things in the process happen, and the outcome starts to come clear. And then you can see evidence of it afterwards, right? But just because we're talking about a well-formed system, I don't want you to get confused about a well-formed system in relationship to whether it's good or it's bad, right? You can leave the judgment out of good or bad in a system. Systems are systems, and they don't care whether it's good or whether it's bad. The system doesn't care about perspective, right? So you have to kind of understand that. And then when you look back at the end of the system and you're looking for the proof, you've got to look at it in whatever angle you need to look at it from. And when we're talking about business, we're certainly talking about whether it got us the result that we wanted, and that we then deem good or bad. It's a bit of a deep concept, right? And maybe for some of you, you're not ready to hear about that. Maybe you're not ready to hear about good and bad being relative to the observer, right? And that, it's an interesting rabbit hole, and be careful if you slip down it. Today, as we are talking about systems, the system that we're going to jump into is part of the Meta-4 framework. And the Meta-4 framework is one system in the overall business choreography systems framework. We've been through a bunch of basic systems in the E7S framework. We are now in and talking about one of the systems in the M4S framework. Meta-4 systems is what the M4S stands for. And the Meta-4 systems are really, they exist in this framework by itself. So we're kind of digging into this space here. And the one we're talking about specifically is the Meta-4 framework for personal choreography. What is personal choreography? It's what you develop daily, weekly, and seasonally, the systems that you develop, I should be clear, for being able to have better focus, better mindset, better health, better creative productivity. And that personal performance becomes the metronome for your business. And it's something we can't leave out when we're talking about the overall whole of systems in your business. It would be negligent of us to pretend like, oh, team choreography systems are important, financial choreography systems are important, but we're not going to talk about ourselves. But ourself is super important, right? Not paying attention to our personal choreography systems is a bad idea, because then it goes in and it affects your team members, your partners that you work with, the vendors that you work with, yourself, and the decisions you make about your business, about your financial systems, about your team systems, about your attractive choreography systems in the E7S framework, right? So you not taking care of you has way more effect. And that's why it's part of the meta. Remember, meta means about, it means overarching, all about. And remember, this is part of the metaphor systems, because it is an about framework. It's a meta framework. Your personal systems choreography is going to affect your E7S choreography across the board. All 7 systems will be affected, because how you choose to nurture your clients will be directly influenced by your personal systems. The way you come and bring yourself and can show up in the systems that you're creating for your business. They can show up on your team systems, on your financial systems, on your optimization systems. It's going to show up in your choreography ability. If we were talking about the TCL, right? And the TCL is the choreography layer. We haven't talked much about that on the lives. We'll get to it eventually, right? But the TCL is the choreography layer, and you can't be a good choreographer for your business if you haven't actually taken care of your personal systems. So in dealing with these personal choreography systems, what I thought would be good is, again, we've been covering just basic setups. We haven't been layering systems. We haven't been working on the attachments between systems. We've been working on creating isolated systems in all of the E7S frameworks. We've been talking about one. We talked about financial one. Last time we talked about something you should set up financially that if you don't have set up, you need to have it set up. So go back and watch that one. I believe that was a few days ago. We've talked about the team system. So if you have employees, team members, whatever you call them, go look at that one, because I think talking about some of the systems you can set up for a better culture is going to make a big difference, right? These are all important, but this one in particular, I have such a close connection to, because I've spent a lot of time focusing on personal development, right? I've written a book. There it is on the shelf back there, called Every Minute. And it was all about understanding yourself, understanding your emotional intelligence. So I've spent a lot of time doing that, and in it, partially because I needed it. Okay, maybe more than partially. It's why I fell in love with it, right? I started it because I thought there was something wrong with me. I thought that, gosh, like, what the heck do I have to do? Because it's probably just me. And so I delved into that years and years ago and just fell in love with it because of what understanding how your mind works can do, and understanding the systems. And I didn't realize they were systems early on. It was over time that it started to develop and started to change for me. And I started to understand more and more about how those are systems. And it started to make a big difference. So we want to talk about a simple system. Remember, you want to be ahead of the curve. There are always going to be outside forces that are setting triggers on yourself. And when those outside forces come in and they set the triggers, and then they get you to run a system, that's bad news, right? Like, think about social media today. Every social media platform that's out there, the one you're watching this on, Their whole game is to get built-in triggers to get you to feel a certain way and to get you to respond and react a certain way, most of which is to stay on the platform, whatever platform it is. And so if this video does a good job, if the video you're watching does a good job, it keeps you there longer. And that's what they want. And that's what they're trying to do, right? So they're trying to set up really solid triggers that get you to respond in a certain way. And if they're successful, then you'll stay there. And that's what they want you to do, right? In the defense of those platforms, their whole goal is to get you to stay, not to leave. That's why they all do things that get you to not leave. If I want to put a link on this video that you could click instantly to leave their platform, they wouldn't allow it. They don't like that. They don't want that. So it makes sense. It's understandable. They want you to stay. That's their business. And so if I create good content and you stay, they're happy. They'll show more of my videos. That is part of their systems. But let's think about it from your side. If they see that you're watching a whole bunch of videos, and I fell into this trap. Last week was the rodeo championships, the world championships, right? And my daughter is a rodeo queen and she loves rodeo. And so the family we all back her and we all got in, we got involved and we all started watching rodeo, 10 nights of rodeo, watching the best guys in the business, watching the best barrel racing women you've ever seen. And they are so fast. And so we got in and we were watching it 10 nights in a row, man. We were invested. But then we started searching about it because we didn't know all the things about it, right? We were asking my daughter, okay, what does this mean? What does that mean? And then when she wasn't around, we were like searching it up. Oh, they have commercials about this. What is that thing? We're searching it up, right? So we started searching about this stuff. And what did the social media platforms do? Now they're serving me rodeo content. Now they're sending me content about things that I'm not going to buy, but that's what they saw that I was interested in last week for 10 days. And so what do? They start serving me more content about rodeo. Oh, look, the mayor of so-and-so congratulated the winner of this and that. And oh, look, this is who, oh, did you see the controversy there? Oh, this is because they saw that I was interested in it. Oh, do you need this product or do you need that product? And then the advertiser's like, well, he was searching up about that. He must be interested in it. So then they start giving me more. So what happened? I indicated with a small little trigger that I was interested in this thing, and then a system started running. Well, maybe he wants more of that. Maybe he wants more of that. Maybe he wants more of that. So it's just kept feeding me more and more stuff about rodeo and the cowboy way of life and all products that were involved with that and the winners and the losers and the drama and this and that. Crazy. Now, I want you to think about that because a lot of people blame social media for being horrible and evil and bad. And I can't believe they were manipulating this and manipulating that. And social media and those companies. Now, if we could potentially believe that they were nefarious, we could potentially believe that that's the case. But there's this small possibility, or maybe it's a big possibility, that maybe they aren't actually nefarious. Maybe they're just trying to give us what we want. And the problem is that when we start looking at something like rodeo, like I did, then I start getting more about rodeo. And then if I look, oh, look at that. Oh yeah, I saw that. And so then you kind of fall into this really weird flywheel, right? Am I really into rodeo all year long? I don't know. Maybe. I mean, I did kind of fall in love with the characters and the story and all the stuff that was happening. And I love it because my daughter loves it. And it was fun and I could get involved and I could be engaged. And that was cool. But now social media is starting to serve me tons of rodeo. And so what I've learned because of systems is that if I engage with that If I click on the post about the mayor congratulating the winner of the bull riding, now what does social media do? They go, well, okay, it's not rodeo week anymore, and he's still clicking on that stuff, so he must want more of it. Okay, so I'm taking a pretty innocent concept, right? The world championships, it was fun, rodeo this, rodeo that. Now they're testing me and they're serving me things that have to do with rodeo. And if I click on more rodeo, then they give me more rodeo. And if I click on more horse stuff, they give me more horse stuff. If I click on more cattle and farming stuff because I didn't know some of the language that they were talking about, now they're giving me and serving me ads about it. Now they're serving me more content about it. And if I continue to click on it, they're going to serve me more of it. Now that's pretty innocent, right? And you think, that's pretty cool that they can do that. And on one end, you can totally think about how cool it is that they can do that. It's pretty cool. But let's think on the other side of the coin. What if that's how it was working with stuff that was maybe not so good in the world? What if we started watching some of the bad news that comes out, right? Because let's just pause right there for just a second and talk about the fact that if it's news and their job is news, they've learned that only reporting on the bad stuff actually gets them more views, clicks, attention. So what do? They report on the bad stuff. They report on the most horrendous stuff going on in the world, and they feed it to us. And if you click on it and you learn about it, because we're human and we want to be kind and humanitarian, I think a majority of us do, then they serve us more of it. And then you watch more of it and you click more of it and you're like, oh, I got to find out more about it. So then what happens? They serve you a little bit more and then they wait to see. And when I say they, I mean, it's probably just an algorithm. It's probably just a computer in the background going, well, they clicked on 3 stories that had to do about this bad news. So I'm going to keep serving them bad news. Oh, and look, this person's talking about that bad news and that person's talking about that bad news and that person, and since they're interested, I'm going to serve them all that stuff. And so the computers start to look at that. And then people go, well, that platform, that social media is nefarious. They're trying to influence us and they're trying to do evil things. And that's possible, I suppose. But it's also possible that we did it to ourselves. We created a well-formed system. We created something that basically we were the trigger of, and the process in the background started running. And the process was simply, we searched for it. We started it and then we searched for it some more. And then when they gave us more of it, because they made their system to give us more of what we want, then they gave us more of it. And if we kept asking for more and kept clicking on more and kept looking at more, then it kept giving us more. And this happens with whatever you're interested in. If you're interested in politics, it'll give you more politics. If you're interested in one side of the aisle or the other side of the aisle, if you start clicking on that stuff, it'll start giving you more of that stuff. So then you end up not seeing the other side because you were interested in one side or the other. And so you ended up going all the way down one rabbit hole and you don't see any of the other stuff. I mean, I've been in love with golf not as long as I would have thought, actually, looking back. But I started playing golf when I was in college. But in recent years, I've fallen more in love with golf. And I really enjoy it. I really like it. I really, really enjoy the systems that come with golf. And as I've started engaging with golf more, I'll be danged if there isn't magically more stuff on my socials, on my YouTube, on my Insta, on my Facebook, on my wherever. More golf ads, more golf content creators, more golf products, more golf shows, more golf entertainment, more golf news, because it knows I like golf. In fact, this video will probably mess it up because I'm saying I like golf, and the computers probably listen and they probably go, he likes golf, let's send him some more golf stuff. That's awesome. But just know this. It is quite possible that you've created some personal systems where you've created triggers or set up systems that you were the trigger for, where it started feeding you and you got more of what you actually accidentally asked for. That's kind of interesting. It's kind of scary, but it's really super cool when you realize that if it's a system, you can actually interrupt it, like the record I was talking about earlier. You can take that record and you can scratch it up and you can redo and create a better, more well-formed system. How cool is that? That is really cool, because that means that you can take back control. And you can start to be the gatekeeper of your personal systems. And so, like usual, sometimes it's about creating a base or basic system that you can use to start building and stacking other systems and interconnecting other systems. But sometimes it's too hard to build the interconnected, stacked system that's choreographed if you haven't built some of the smaller systems along the way. So with each of the systems that we've built in the E7S systems, in the M4S systems, all of these systems along the way, I have really tried to keep it to the basics, some of these base systems, because ultimately, as we go, we'll continue to talk about more and more complex systems. However, it's the base fundamentals that I've learned from my dancing days, my athletic days, playing basketball when I was in high school, dancing as a professional athlete, running tech companies, helping build other companies. All of these things, you start to notice, hey, if I can control, if I can manipulate these systems, then we're going to start to be in better control. But it starts with the basics. And that's what I learned. It starts with the basic elements of these systems. And so that's what we want to do here. Let's just talk about a basic personal system. Just easy. What would be the trigger? What would be the process? What would be the outcome? Now, this feels a little overkill to me, but I like using my board. So we're going to add the board to the screen. If you're new to the stream, this is the Business Choreography Systems board. And I like building these because in here, because then there's like evidence of a system, right? Evidence that we built this and we spent time talking about it and creating it. And it you know, it's a great way to keep track of what we're doing, and also a great way to go back and go, hey, I want to run that system. I like creating and doing that system. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to create an easy system. And I'm going to call this my morning routine system. That's it, a nice personal system. And what is it that I want to get? What's the outcome that I want to get? And I like to start here because I have one already, but also just understanding what it is that you're trying to achieve, right? So the outcome we're trying to achieve here, I'm just going to use one of mine, right? My outcome is to move into my day with clarity, creativity, and energy. Okay, so that's the outcome. That's what I want to accomplish out of this morning routine. Some people say morning routines don't work. Maybe they don't for them. Although everybody I've heard say morning routines don't work, usually when you analyze what they were up to that morning and what they do regularly every day, it actually turns out that they have morning routines. They just aren't as obvious, or they don't call them that, but they're consistent and every day they do the same thing. So I suppose that's a morning routine, isn't it? We won't go down that rabbit hole. But what I am looking at is I'd like to move into my day with clarity, creativity, energy. I think those things are important. I could add some other things here that I want to get out of this, which is important if you're messing with your system, right? Because your system needs to do these things. Now, I could have a system for clarity, a system for creativity, a system for energy. But right now, I'm kind of combining them together. So what's my trigger going to be? Well, we could start as early as getting out of bed, right? That could be the earliest trigger, or it could be at a certain point in your process. For me, let's go ahead. I'm going to just tell you about a little bit about my morning setup. I'm going to start it from when I get out of bed, right? And that maybe sounds a little overkill, but it honestly isn't. And that's the trigger for me. And I've recognized that if I actually set up some systems, a set of processes, I should say, that happen immediately from the moment I get out of bed, then I can actually set that up so that an hour later, I will do the same thing every day and still accomplish the same thing I want to do every day. So here's what I'm going to do. This is going to sound silly, and maybe you need to go to this depth, or maybe you're like, hey, this is way too intense. I'm just going to do this a little. I'm going to back off of this a step. You have to kind of see to what level of depth or specificity you have to go for you. But once you find that, then you can run the system over and over again. So for me, it's how I get out of bed. I know that sounds funny, but I'm a systems guy. I wanted to see if it mattered. So it mattered. So how I get out of bed. And that may not sound like it's a big deal, but there was a point in time when my health was bad, and I recognized that I was getting out of bed, physically getting out of bed in a way that told my body that it wasn't rested and recovered. And so when it's time for me to get out of bed, what I did was, for literally a year, I trained it in. Like, when I'm ready to get up, if I'm going to get up, I'm going to get up a particular way to tell me and my body, this is the first thing. This is the first indication that I'm running this next system. So how I get out of bed. And I know exactly how it is physically. I'm a former professional ballroom dancer. So I have a very particular way of how I got out of bed. Now, I did have to improve on that because I had some physical ailments after a long career of dance that I was getting out of bed a certain way before because of some physical things that were hurting me. So I couldn't get out of bed the way I wanted to. Over time, over that year that I built that in, I started getting out of bed a very particular physical way. And to me, it was part of the process. So I do that. My phone is my alarm clock. So I'd unplug my phone, wrap my wire around the little phone holder so that I would be able to plug it back in when I go back to bed the next day. And that's a get my phone ready, right? And for the next day too. So I'm prepping for the next day. And I know I'm getting specific here, but I just want to show you that some of these early things can actually start to take you down the path that you're going on. Then I put my glasses on. And this sounds funny, but like, it's like sort of an indication to me that the day is ready to go. So I put my glasses on. I've already got my phone and I've already prepared the charger for the next day. And this is, again, it's one of those little things. I make my bed. I know that's so silly, right? Michael, you make your bed. Yes. Not perfectly, not to the standard of my wife, right? I don't put the pillows on. She's still asleep, right? I don't put the pillow. I don't decorate. I just make my bed. It looks nice. It looks like it hasn't been slept in. pull it up, make sure it's looking nice, and it's ready for me to get into at the end of the day. It's a silly thing I learned from a Marine. You should go watch that YouTube talk. It's really good. All right. So then there's that. And then in the same order every day, go into the bathroom, do the things that I do, right? Go to the restroom, brush my teeth, get my workout clothes on, right? So now I am getting my workout clothes on. Why? Because I'm not going to work out first. For me, I tried it. It wasn't the best thing, because when I was sleeping and I needed to get out of bed and the first thing I was going to do was work out, then my brain went, nope, don't want to do it, because I wasn't a person that worked out back then. Now I work out every day. But back then I was like, if the first thing I have to do in the morning is work out, it is never going to happen. But what I can do is get my workout clothes on. And it's huge, because I'm declaring to the world, to myself, from my perspective, that I am going to work out, because it would be awfully strange for me to put my workout clothes on and not work out. Man, that would not align with who I was and what I was trying to create as my identity. So by putting my workout clothes on, it ensures that I will work out that day. Absolutely ensures it. And so then later on that day, I can go and take a shower, change my clothes, and I go through that process. But the reason I was able to start getting out of bed easier was because the first thing I put on my list is my work, my must do in the morning work, right? But I want to make sure I don't leave some things out here, because there's a couple important things. One of them is I decided to help my health. I would start drinking some green tea. I looked into it, researched it, found out that green tea was super helpful. There's all sorts of green teas, by the way. So I'd make my green tea. Then I'd start my dailies. That's what I call them. Boy, I can't spell dailies today. I'd start my dailies for work. And then I do my meditation / reading, because I usually do those together. Then I do my workout. And then I get ready for the day. And boy, can I tell you, I'm consistent. Was I consistent? No. Am I consistent now? Yes. Because in a strange turn of events, the system was triggered by getting out of bed. Now notice in the process, it was, how do I get out of bed? Because that then triggered everything else, right? Oh, I forgot to put phone here. You guys are probably laughing at me over there. Okay, so I get my phone ready, put my glasses on, make my bed, get my workout clothes on, get my green tea made, start my dailies for work. After I've done my dailies, the things that are the must do straight away in the morning, do my meditation and my reading, and then I go work out, and then I get ready for the day after that. Now for me, that's when I go and I get a shower and do all that kind of stuff, because I've already worked out. And then I get back to work, right? Then maybe I have some breakfast, that type of thing, right? So after that, I have some different systems that are run depending on the day. So super straightforward. And I think sometimes people think that basic systems aren't worth creating, setting up, writing down, getting in practice, because, oh, well, that's easy, I should just be able to do it. But you know what? That's not necessarily true, right? Like for a while, and I don't know if I have one here. I love note cards. Oh, here's one. and it's every day. And I had the things that were a must every day in my morning routine. And I don't know that you guys can see it, right? But tea, water, stretch, meditate, read and study, work out, right? Okay, so all those things were there. And for a while, I wrote that down. I wanted to remember. I put it on my desk where I could see it. I wanted to remember. I had to work it in. It didn't just happen because I had to overcome some other programs and some other systems that were not participating. Did I succeed at it 100% in the beginning? No, but after a year of practicing it and being consistent, now it's just second nature. Now those things happen and run, and it's all triggered by how I get out of bed. And just in case there's some secondary triggers, all these secondary things remind me that I can get back into the mode. And that's it. You just look to see, hey, did this produce the outcome? Do I like it? What could adjust? I mean, these are just some simple things, right? Like, after you do it for a little bit and you go, okay, am I actually gaining clarity, creativity, and energy because of this? Well, let's see. On the days that I missed, did it work? Did I still have this anyway? And there are some false positives along the way, I can tell you, because as I was doing it over the course of years now, what I recognized was that I missed a day, or I messed up the stuff and I didn't do it. And maybe for a day, I still had the leftover clarity, creativity, and energy from the day before, or from days and days before. But if I missed it for 2 days or 3 days, then it just started going away. So I had to get back to the process, back to the system. Now, here's what I'm not telling you. I am not telling you to run my system, right? But if I were to go on like a podcast, or somebody were to interview me and we're like, what's your morning routine? I'd kind of go, I wonder if they really want to know what that is, or do they want to know that I meditate every day? Right? Do they really want to know that I take my phone, unplug it from the phone cord, wrap it around the thing so that it's perfectly ready, so that right before I go to bed, I know I can reach over, grab it, plug it in, turn my phone off, and go to sleep? I don't know. Are they asking me about that system, or are they just going, well, what's your morning routine, right? It's such a cliche thing. And I think from a cliche perspective, it's not really helpful. I think from a training you perspective, training yourself perspective, if the goal is to have clarity, creativity, and energy, if this does that, and maybe it has some other effects too, which I know it does, then it's valuable enough to train yourself. And I would say that you essentially are training yourself just the same way you'd train a dog, right? It's the same exact thing. You would say, I got the treats. If I get the treats out, if my kids get the treats out for a dog, she's all game. She's ready to play. She's all good to go. She's ready to get involved, ready to get everything going. She'll roll over. She'll kiss you on the cheek. She'll do all those things that my girls have systematically taught her by creating a system. What's the trigger? The treats, handful of treats, the sound of the bag opening, ready to go, right? And they've done that over and over again. So while I hate to relate you to a dog, because, that's not the intention here, what I do want to point out is that just like anything, you can actually train a system. And pretty soon, the system can run over and over and over again. But you have to think about it. Like, what is it that you want to do? If you want to have more, like we said, more creativity, clarity, and energy, for your business, then it starts here. It starts in this space. It starts right from when you get out of bed. I mean, that's a pretty intense thought if you think about it. So I want you to really, really think about your morning routine. Really think about what you do on a regular basis. Think about if you do something different on Monday, Wednesday, Friday than you do on Tuesday, Thursday, then recognize that that might take even longer to create the systematic approach, that consistency, that disciplined value from doing it over and over and over again. But if you're doing it every day, okay, it might actually turn into a habit a little bit sooner. You might be able to break some cool systems that are not serving you, that you would call bad, by figuring out the system that is running. What's the trigger? What are the processes? What are the things that happen? What's the outcome that happens? How can I get in the way? What can I do instead? How can I make this better? Personal systems are so important. And all we did there was talk about a morning routine. And if there's any part of you that thinks this doesn't have to do with your business, I would challenge you to say that you are sorely wrong. Makes such a big difference. Sometimes it's hard to get out of bed. Sometimes it's hard to do the next thing. And I understand, and none of us are immune from it. Everything goes in waves. Sometimes you're up and sometimes you're down. Sometimes things are really great and you think, I wish this lasted forever. And sometimes things are bad and you wish that it wouldn't last for one more minute. And in every case and in every scenario, the systems that you've created will help you get through it or get through it, whatever the case may be for you. There are so many personal systems we could set up that would influence the way and the quality of your life and your business. And we'll talk about more as we go. I hope this system has proven valuable for you. I hope that what you've learned from today is something you can take and implement. Again, the intention wasn't for you to exactly copy me. You're welcome to if you want. I know it works. I do it every day, right? But at least do it. At least start to look at your system that you have set up in your morning and see if you can tweak it. See if you can make it better. See if you can do something to it that can help you attain the goal. But make sure that you look at the outcome that you're trying to reach and make sure that whatever the tweaks are and whatever the things you're doing can produce that long-term outcome. And then it's going to work better for you. Guys, as usual, I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you joining me. I appreciate you listening to me talk and rant about systems. If you want to learn more about these, if you want to stay engaged and be part of the systems conversation for your business or for yourself, go join us at systemsforexperts.com. It's our free community. There's no cost. There's some cool free courses that we have in there for you. All the lives are in there every day, so you'll be able to access them and be part of it, and be part of a growing group of experts that really care about the systems and the quality of their systems in their life. Lots of cool free resources. So go check them out. Again, join us at systemsforexperts.com. And it's free. Hope to see you inside the community. And let me know what kind of systems work for you. I'm always curious. If you're running a system, let me know about it. Anyway, until next time, keep choreographing your business. And we'll see you on the next Backstage Choreo Live. Take care. Bye-bye.